Oh my God, I'm in.
Hi.
Hello, it's nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too. Hi everyone. Anna and I are here presenting our new project. It's called Read, Create and Share. And Anna, do you want to start introducing yourself and telling a bit about why we created it?
Of course, yes. So some of you might know me. My name is Anna Lewoc, and I'm from Poland. I am based in Warsaw. And I'm a translator, among other things, an event organizer, an academic lecturer. I also work as a PM at a translation agency, part-time. And I am also diagnosed with ADHD, which is why I got interested in all things neurospicy.
Hold on.
Sorry, wait a second.
It's
I
okay.
need to. I have
Yeah,
the
it's okay.
wrong camera. Yeah. Uh, okay. How do I change it?
Uh, Hold on. There should be like
Yeah,
two arrows.
I see that. Right. Oh,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, it's my first time doing an Instagram live, so yeah. Yeah. So where did I finish? That I am neurospicy and I'm interested in neurospicy things.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I follow a lot of, accounts on Instagram, of course, about mental health, about navigating the neurotypical world and so on. Of course, I also went to therapy. I read a lot of printed materials about that, but I think that in our
Mhm.
industry, there is still quite a lot of stigma around neurodivergence. So it's either ADHD, autism, or the spectrum actually of autism and other mental health conditions or conditions that can impact your mental health.
Mhm.
Um, because most of us are in this constant hamster wheel of productivity, which I decided to quit some time ago. Not the translation industry, but the hamster wheel. And that's why actually, this project was kind of, let's say, simmering in my head. And when Veronica decided to approach me and ask me about the potential collaboration, I said, yep, of course. And here we are. All right, so Veronica, I think it's your turn now.
Yeah, I'm actually Spanish. I live in the UK, and yeah, so I don't have a diagnosis per se, but I always had the feeling that there was something there, like I really struggled with certain situations. Like I tend to get like too focused on some things. For example, I like sometimes I struggle with interacting with people. So I always had that feeling. And after quite a few years of is this anxiety, is this something else, um, then I started to read about ADHD and autism, mainly because I always had the feeling that my daughter is autistic. And yeah, I decided to like talk to Anna about this project mainly because we both thought that like we could communicate and understand each other very well, like from the neurodivergent perspective, um, and we agreed on quite a few topics. So we decided like let's just create this in order to talk about being neurodivergent in the mainly in the translation world, but as women as well, because it's not very easy to be diagnosed as a woman. We are good at masking how we feel, basically. So
Absolutely.
that's challenging in a way.
Yeah, I mean, what comes to my mind is the meme that I sent you before. So I don't know if you know this meme. There is like a swimming pool, and there is an adult who is tending to a toddler in those how do you call those floaties, right? And this is dubbed young boys with ADHD or autism because there are two versions. There is another child who is on their own and kind of struggling to swim, and this is girls with ADHD or autism. And then there's another perspective, and there is a skeleton at the bottom of the pool, and this is adults with ADHD or autism. So basically, the problem is that if you're not diagnosed early in your life, then there is like less and less chance, especially as a woman, that you will even think that this is, there might be something going on. Of course, now with more and more resources all around, we are more and more aware that it might be a thing. But actually, Veronica, I've heard that your case is really, really common, that first people actually start to suspect that they might have some form of autism or ADHD or other neurotypical mess because their children are diagnosed.
Yeah.
So so in my case, it was, I was 33 when I was diagnosed, and but I am 100% sure that my dad also has ADHD. But it's like in his case, it's really no use like getting a diagnosis because he's getting older and he's been like that his whole life. He kind of learned how to live with it. So yeah, so I guess that is what we are doing. Actually, we are learning how to live with it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it is essential to understand the whole situation. It's not the label; it's understanding what comes with it.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
because you don't even need the label, right? It's because the thing is that you can also be considered neurotypical, but still have some struggles that you share with people who have autism or ADHD, right? So so that's it's like I think that this could be a space that could benefit everyone. So not only neuropsychic people, but also neurotypical people who are just finding it hard to to live in today's world, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that one of the things that, for example, led to this project was the idea that as translators, okay, so some people tend to assume that because that being a translator is just like speaking more than one language. No, it's not that. It's not that. However, it is. I do think that some neurodivergent people have this facility for languages, especially if you're in contact with quite a few. I think that we tend to copy a lot. Like, for example, not so much from books, but for example, when we watch movies, we watch films, we listen to the music, it is easy-ish for us to copy what other people do. And that's, in my opinion, quite interesting because it just some people seemed to think still some of them still do that especially kids with autism struggle to communicate and that they should maybe stick to one language when that's actually not true, like it's very easy for children to copy. There is something called echocalia, meaning that we kind of copy each other, and with children you can see that all the time. They tend to copy adults, they tend to copy other kids. So yeah, that's it. It's about how you acquire the language, right? Sometimes you can see that they do repeat one word, but they don't really understand what it means.
Oh yeah, especially swear words. That's what I observe with my boyfriend's nephew. Yeah, he's 3, and it's like sometimes he just chooses the most random words that, like, you say something and he chooses one word from that and he starts repeating it and repeating it. And I mean, it's not always a swear word, because now we are aware that we shouldn't swear in front of him. But it's like the most random word, and yeah, so that's basically what children do. And I actually remember that when I was a kid, I also caught myself doing that, and I think that's why my English got really good. I was also like another facet, let's say, of neurospiciness is that you get a hyper focus sometimes. So if something interests you, because especially ADHD brains are motivated by interest. So it doesn't matter if something is important. What matters is whether it interests you. So if you find something that excites you, that gives you the dopamine that you need, then you're going to, like, all forces are just going into this one thing.
Yeah.
So so when you hyper focus on a foreign language, that's on learning a foreign language, you can be really, you can become proficient in like no time. Well, I was hyper focusing on video games, but back then the games weren't really available in Polish, so I had to play them in English. And that's how, like I'm still like a fan of video games, but I'm pretty sure that this is how I actually learned English. So that's another aspect of this, right? That children might just hyper focus on this time the, let's say, right thing, right?
Yeah.
Learning the languages.
Yeah. How would you say that being neurodiverse impacts your life? I mean, we did talk about like being like very focused on certain things. Any other aspect, would you say?
Yeah, I can tell you a story. I mean, Veronica already knows the story, but our listeners don't. So basically, sometimes with ADHD, you're really focused on one thing, which is cool if it is the right thing, but it's pretty random. But sometimes you just lack focus in really important moments. And for me, that moment was on Saturday when I lost my car keys, which, as you can imagine, is not the best situation. I tore through the whole house to find them. Like I searched my coat, my bag, my other bag, my gym bag, my climbing bag. I searched through everything, really, and I couldn't find them. And I couldn't remember where I put them. And the thing is, car keys are pretty important, right? But then it turned out that they were just, laughing at me from a shelf. So, yeah, I mean, someone must have just moved them, which is another thing that I absolutely hate, when someone moves my things. Because, then I start to question myself, like, am I sane? Like, do I actually remember something wrong? Is it like the beginnings of, I don't know, some schizophrenia or something? Which is like, it's a livable condition if it's managed, right? But it's like, it might be scary when your brain turns on you. But yeah, so finally I found the keys, right? But that's another aspect of the neurospiciness, that my house might be messy, but the things have to have their place. And if they don't have their place, I am absolutely disorganized. And actually, I was, at some point when I was working in a language school, I got let's say, award. Like it was like for fun, but I got an award, a cup, for being the most organized person ever. But the thing is that if I wasn't so well organized, I would just, like, my life would disintegrate. So yeah, and so that's another thing, right? And what about you, Veronica? Why do you suspect autism?
Like very similar things. For example, like well, I'm always checking, like do I have my keys, because I'm an expert in losing things. And
Okay.
So yeah, I'm the kind of person who checks if I have the key like 20 times before leaving the house, things like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I check if I lock the door.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like I realized at some point it was very easy for me to like hyper focus on something to the point that I used to be a medical interpreter, and they had a very uncomfortable situation. It was a pregnant lady that needed a scan, and the technician basically she refused to have an interpreter in there, so she basically told me to shut up. And yeah, exactly. So I
Okay.
don't know how I managed to memorize a whole appointment and
Oh
tell her,
wow.
yeah, I don't know how. Like, don't ask me. And also, I realized I used to remember like very, very random things. Like, I used to travel all across London for like interpreting appointments. I actually managed to memorize all the postcodes of all the hospitals in London.
Okay, that's really
Yeah,
random.
I know. It's
Okay.
really, and also and not only the postcode, but each hospital has a form, like a code for
Mhm.
the patient's number, let's say. So one time, that information actually became handy because they sent me the address for one hospital and the code or the the hospital code for the patient for for another one.
Okay, and you were like, that's the wrong phone.
Exactly. So I did tell
Okay.
them, and I remember going there, like this is not right, and
Okay.
the receptionist basically confirmed my suspicion.
Yeah. So it's like basically that's another thing that is quite like a superpower for neurospicy people,
Yeah.
that you know, you remember those random things basically. I mean, like I usually don't remember people's names, for example,
Hmm.
which is like I'm a lecturer, right? And my groups of students aren't really that big. It's like the biggest was like 20 people or something. And the thing is that, you know, it's like after 3 months, I'm still referring to them as, you know, you in the pink sweater and stuff like that. So it's, you know, not the best image, but really I just can't remember unless somebody has an unusual name, like, you know, from an animal or something. So then it's easier. So
Yeah.
that's why, you know, I love Zoom classes because everybody is captioned. So yeah, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do remember, like, you know, really random stuff. I mean, like, I don't know, nothing like that comes to my mind right now, but like really random stuff. Like
Yeah.
my friends always say that I always have a fun fact to share. So yeah, so you know, I just, yeah, instead of like remembering stuff for school, I just, you know, remember it like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to be a teaching assistant in France, and same thing as with you. Like I'm horrible remembering names, but horrible. You have no idea. So there was this kid that he basically spoke a lot, and by a lot I mean that at some point his own classmates told him to shut up.
Oops. Yeah.
I think I managed to learn his name the first day just by telling him to stop talking.
Learning by repetition, right? So yeah. Yeah, but I know what you mean.
So
It's
yeah.
yeah, but you know, sometimes I have a different thing that, like, if somebody reminds me of someone I know, I will refer to them by the wrong name, which is, but like, it's a, you know, it's like it's an impulse, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, when there is a, I know, a Margaret that reminds me of Pauline, right? It's gonna be like, Pauline can, sorry, Margaret. And so yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you know, but it's like it's either, you know, the looks, the voice, the, you know, whatever. So yeah, so that's that. But on the other hand, it's really funny because right now I still, like, you know, I organize my conferences, right? And the thing is that I when I see a name, I can remember, okay, this person attended the
Mhm.
conference. I don't know what year, but you know, I'm sure they were there. So and it's like right in, let's say, 95% of cases. So, on the one hand, I can't really match the name to a person, but if there's a list of names and I have to read through it like, 20 times, then they are going to stay there.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. So supernatural memory, which sometimes fails you.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's like when I was in high school, I remember, for example, I like one of the subjects was philosophy.
Oh,
And
okay.
I really struggled to remember, like, to basic, if I wasn't really interested in the subject, I really struggled with, like,
Oh, yeah.
connecting concepts, let's say.
Mhm.
So I opted for memorizing so what happened was I had memorized my notes to the point that I had the exam in front of me, and I was like mentally, oh, this is this paragraph, this is this paragraph, this is this
Oh, yeah.
paragraph.
Yeah. Or like, oh, that was page 36 in a
Exactly.
blue box, but I have no idea what it says.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the thing is that, I thought I was like weird. I mean, I actually did feel like a weirdo most of my, school years, because on the one hand, I was like, I could recite some things or like,
Yeah.
do math problems if they interested me. But on the other hand, it's like history or geography, like when I had to learn, stuff by heart, basically, because I saw no connection between, real life and what we had in geography class. Or I don't know, chemistry. Chemistry was my, like the painful Achilles heel, we say, right? And the thing is that I was really bad at chemistry at school, especially at high school. But then, and we were actually talking about that, I think yesterday or something, that like I met a guy who is a doctoral student at the biochemistry department at the local Warsaw Medical University, and he actually recommended me as a translator to his colleagues.
Oh
And I
wow.
was like, oh God, what did I step into? I stepped into organic chemistry. That is not good. It's going to be stinky. But then it turned out that actually, if the research is interesting to you, you can do it. It's not
Yeah.
that hard. And I learned the organic chemistry again, this time from a completely different perspective, from the perspective of like, important discoveries like scientific stuff, as well as, just experiments that interested me, right? So that was really, really cool. And it turned out that, yep, I can do it. So yeah, so that's, again, the power of hyperfocus, right? If something is not interesting to you, then you're not gonna remember that, and it's gonna be, physically painful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's sometimes when we like kind of force ourselves a little bit to, okay, like let's do this, one like it may take you 2 hours to start doing something,
Yeah.
but once you're focused, you forget to have lunch and dinner and to even go to bed. Kind of.
Oh yeah, or yeah, go to the toilet, right? And then you're like, oh, there's gonna be an
Exactly.
accident. Yeah, I mean, that is true. And wait a second, I had something connected to that. No, I don't remember. I was distracted. Yeah, this is another thing that like distractions. I mean, the thing is that, some people say that when they are working, they either have to have no distractions, or like, in my case, my desk is very messy. That's why I never take pictures of my desk, because it looks like a trash can, basically. And now really, it's like everything is here. But the thing is that this is my mess and it doesn't disturb
Yeah.
me, right? And sometimes I usually don't listen to music, but sometimes I have to have the hardest rock playing on my headphone, because this is the only way to kind of force my brain into something resembling focus.
Yeah.
And and I've always been like that. So the
I do
thing is
the
that,
same. I do the same. And
yeah.
if I ever play like very like very chill music, I fall asleep.
Yeah, I mean, I have my types of music that I actually like listening to while working. It's called lo-fi. So it's kind of, it's chill, but not like terribly
Yeah.
chill, like sleepiness chill. So that's that. But the thing is that, those focus problems, they actually mean that whenever I'm doing like something work related or let's say education related, I always have to put in a lot of effort. And the thing is that I wasn't even aware that, most people, yeah, they put in effort, but it's not like, knackering you, at the end of the day that you are like, dead with exhaustion, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happened my whole life. I mean, I had really good marks, but I was, burnt out as a kid. So that's basically shouldn't happen. But, I went to school in the 90s and the OOs, naughties, whatever they are called. And and then of course the school was, it was just the beginnings of it, at least in Poland, just the beginnings of people getting, any kind of diagnoses. So, it's autism was not really there yet. There was the Asperger's syndrome, and there was a popular one was dyslexia, which is also a, neurodivergence, right? Because your brain basically processes information in a different
Yeah.
way. And so the thing is that it was mostly that, and mostly diagnosed through problems in learning, so learning difficulties. And since I had no learning difficulties because I was just putting in so much effort, like forcing myself every day to
Yeah.
to do that, then I was never even it was never even suspected, right? But then like 30 years later I discovered that usually people don't really put in that much effort.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, in Spain, I don't recall people speaking about it when I was young. I was born in 1989, to give you an idea. And yeah, same thing. I mean, my brother is bipolar, for example, and it took my parents 18 years to get him diagnosed. I mean, I always thought that there was something there because
Mhm.
like you can't see that sometimes, right?
Yeah,
And
like
even if
this
you cannot,
kid is
yeah,
weird, right? Yeah,
not like how can I say, like it is there, but you don't know what is that kind of.
yeah, yeah.
And in his case, the only reason why he was actually diagnosed was because he decided to spend 3 days playing video games, not eating, not sleeping, smoking weed, and drinking. Like,
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't the best combination, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And so I remember the dog that we used to have back then. He was basically my brother's shadow. He was always
Mhm.
with him, and the dog was running away from him.
Oh, like when he was doing that. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so
So
there was something, probably, just some kind of overwhelm, right? Because like I don't know, like you said that it took 18 years to get diagnosed, so he was probably finishing high school by that time, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, more
So
or less. So
yeah,
yeah, I
so
mean, like I mean, video games, like they do have some effect, kind of.
Mhm.
For example, if you have epilepsy, some video games are not recommended, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
at the beginning you always have epilepsy is also a neurospicy
hmm,
thing, by the way. So
yeah,
yeah, and because it's like the way your brain works, right? So everything connected with like the wiring
yeah,
of your brain will be, neuro something, right?
hmm,
So yeah, but usually video games have the disclaimer at the beginning that, if you are epileptic, then you shouldn't maybe play this game or like be careful.
yeah,
And actually, in a lot of games, you can turn off the light effects if it's like light-induced epilepsy, because some epilepsy is not
hmm.
light-induced.
Yeah, and I think
And
that
yeah,
that plus the combination of not sleeping and smoking weed.
yeah,
Mm,
and drinking with smoking weed,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
not the best
So
for his brain.
no,
Yeah,
no, definitely
and
not.
your parents said basta or whatever you say in Spanish.
Yeah,
They sent
yeah.
him to the doctor.
So he was
Okay,
admitted. He was admitted then in
okay,
hospital.
right. Yeah, so that's that's like one
And
way,
yeah, and
right?
that also I don't know in Poland, but for example in Spain, so unless so there is the option of let's say asking for an adult to be considered legally a child. So the parents can make the decision for them. There is a word for that, but doesn't come up right now. But you get the idea. And but back then, obviously they haven't even requested that because they haven't even considered the situation, you know. And also, like physically speaking, he's quite tall and not. And he's not that fat, but he's quite strong, physically speaking. So it's not like you can take a child to the hospital, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
We're talking
you
about an
can't really
adult
like
person.
forcibly, like, you know, like a kid, you just throw them over your shoulder and you take them
Kind
to the hospital.
of, yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
there is that as well.
Yeah, I mean, in Poland, there is also some like that, but it's usually used, you know, in very extreme cases. I mean, like if somebody is like lives with severe disability and basically can't care for themselves. So I've never heard of a case when an autistic person was, yeah, there's a word for that.
Yeah.
When an autistic person went through this, you know, this, yeah, I mean, I know the word in Polish, but in Polish it's
Yeah.
ubezwłasnowolnienie, which is a mouthful, as all Polish words are. But yeah, but I've never heard of an autistic person here being that. But you know, maybe there are, but it must be like really
Very extreme. Yeah.
very extreme, and I suppose, you know, connected with other like, you know, comorbidities, let's say, like, you know, severe depression and or something like that, or other disorders, basically, because I don't think it's easy to like revert it. So yeah, but yeah, but the thing is that you know, if you're an adult, like legally an adult, nobody can actually force you to go get a diagnosis, right? But I think that if you have the possibility and the means, because you know it's paid, at least in Poland. I mean, probably not in all cases, but if you're an adult, then it's, you know, you're not going to get a public health care diagnosis. So yeah, so if you have the means and the possibility to you know, at least evaluate yourself, because the thing is that the worst thing that psychiatrist can do is tell you, nope, you're neurotypical. And you know, so then, you know, right, then maybe your, you know, your struggles result from, you know, something else, or maybe maybe it's just, you know, like something needs to change in your life, right? Because that's also why adult people with neurospicy disorders don't really, you know, it's like if somebody is an adult and has autism, they don't really behave like a, you know, 9-year-old child who has autism, because the thing is that the 9-year-old child is often forced to do things that they are not comfortable with, you know, eat things that are disgusting to them, like wear things that are scratchy and so on. And when you're an adult, you can shape your own world so that it kind of responds to your needs, right? So if you hate strawberries, you're just not going to eat strawberries, and nobody can force you to do it, right? Or if you don't want to wear a certain kind of sweater, you're not going to wear it. And that's why, you know, adults, people with neurospiciness, you know, they can just, you know, work with their brains and not against them, right? And it's not always the case with children.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think that also it's sorry, especially for women, it's easy to assume that it's something else. Let's say depression, stress, anxiety, and that I think complicates a bit more the situation.
Yeah, I mean, in my case, it was like the first diagnosis I get was depressive states, because I was in such a bad shape that I basically went to like the first contact doctor. Like, I think it's called the GP, right? The general practitioner. So I went to the GP and I started crying. He was a bit freaked out.
Yeah.
He actually got me on tricyclic antidepressants, which I mean, they helped, but they had side effects. Yeah, I mean, like they helped, and the thing is that I had like small, like memory gaps, let's say, and it was really weird. I felt like I was, living in a dream or something, so that was weird. But then I got referred to a psychiatrist, and first she diagnosed me with the depressive episodes, right? And with a side of anxiety, let's say. She got me on good antidepressants. And then, it's like during the pandemic, we only met online with my psychiatrist. And it's like the antidepressants were working. I was feeling okay, and it was really great. It's like a burden was lifted from my shoulders. And then she gave me a different kind of antidepressants because I was like when I got out of the episode, I was kind of lacking motivation to do some things. He was like, "Hey, you're lacking motivation. Let's try this drug then." And this drug was called bupropion. I mean, I'm not sure how to pronounce that in English, but that's the Polish pronunciation. And it turns out that it worked for me, and it turns out that it's also often prescribed for ADHD. So after some time, when we again meet in person, so like after the pandemic was lifted, let's say, so we met in person. And I went into her office, and she was like, "So what's up?" And I was talking and talking and talking, and she was like, "Anya, why don't you have an ADHD diagnosis?" And I was like, "Well, you're my psychiatrist. You tell me, right?" So yeah, and then she gave me the DIVA test. It's a test that you can use. It's available free online, but the thing is that you should always, even if you fill it in, you should always consult a psychiatrist about the result, because it's like it's not only the result of the test, like how many fields you cross, it's also the interview that the psychiatrist does with you, right?
Yeah.
So I brought the test to her, and she was like, "Oh yeah, symptoms in 8 areas out of 9." So, and the only area that I didn't mark any box in, it was losing things, because the thing is that I never lose things because except for my car keys on Saturday, but I never lose things because the things have their home in my home. So like, it might be a messy drawer, but I know that my pen is somewhere in there, right? So that's why I never lose things, and I check 20 times. So that's how it worked in my case, but I know that like you can also, at least in Poland, in big cities, you can also just go to a clinic, a mental health clinic, and they will tell you what steps to take in order to get the diagnosis, either this way or that way, right? Because it might be, it might turn out, as I said, that you are not neurospicy, which is we're not missing on anything,
Yeah.
Yeah.
How so what do you hope to achieve with this project?
Well, I think that in our industry, we are kind of missing this kind of safe space where we can talk about,